Fellow you all well know is Kylie Altier from East Baton Rouge Parish Schools, and really excited to get an update, Kylie, on everything that's happening.
Thank you. I'm Kelly Thompson with the Office of School System Relations. I have the pleasure of managing the Public Interest Fellowship and working with Kylie this year. I'm so excited for her to share with you what she's been able to accomplish this year and give you her final report.
All right. Well, hello again, everybody. I just first want to start out by saying thank you for this incredible opportunity. As the 2024 Public Interest Fellowship, my initiative was focused on supporting parental involvement in their child's reading through creating parent resource videos that would be shared through the Read with Kylie website and distributing literacy kits. So today I'd like to share with you what we've been able to accomplish with this opportunity. Shaped by my own experience struggling to read with dyslexia, my 12 years of experience as a first grade teacher, and teaching my own daughter how to read at 4, this fellowship has been the culmination of my greatest goal in education: to make sure all children have access to high quality reading instruction for free, because learning to read is too important to be anything but free. So, to accomplish this, my team and I worked all year in 3 major phases. So, the first was set course, create, connect. Then we moved into enroll and engage, and finally support and sustain. So, in the January update, I went into detail on phase 1, but just as a quick refresher, this is the phase where we laid the foundation for a successful year. Through lots of research and collaboration, we selected and created resources that would be provided for families. We relaunched the Read with Kylie website, forged community and national partnerships, and finally created 1,000 literacy kits. These kits included a parent guide written by me that outlined a structured literacy routine for families, phonogram cards with parent notes for pronunciation and multiple sounds, high-frequency word cards focused on orthographic mapping rather than memorization, high-quality decodable texts from Bob books and Charge into Reading, and finally an LCD writing tablet for sustainable encoding practice. In phase 2, the first big job was to find 1,000 families who wanted to commit to teaching their children how to read. In total, we ended up with 1,017 families who signed up and were able to use a few of the remaining resources from the ADF grant that I'd received in the previous year to make up that extra 17. Also, I won the Voya Unsung Heroes grant this school year and used that to be able to purchase 40 sets of some higher level decodables for students who progressed quickly through the materials for some second graders who had signed up. And we had a few teachers request kits and were able to send out small group sets to 5 different teachers to pilot. In addition, volunteers in public schools asked to put a kit in every one of their large campuses so volunteers could use their kits through their Everybody Reads program. After parents signed up, had to begin the journey of getting the kits in the hands of children. So we used the EBR Pony system for students within the district. We did scheduled pickup days where parents could just drive by and grab a kit, and we gave out some free Canes gift cards at that. We dropped off kits at schools who had a lot of students sign up, like Kenilworth and the LSU Lab School, and even had some of the fellowship team drive to houses and drop them in mailboxes. Another way we distributed kits and spread the word about the fellowship was by attending literacy events in the community. We had several schools and organizations ask us if parents could sign up at their events, and it was really amazing to see people engage with literacy. Finally, we hosted our own parent workshops where we would not only enroll and give out kits, but also enlist children as tiny teachers who were teaching their parents how to use the materials in the kits. I never really personally thought this would be something parents would show up for because I assumed everybody would rather learn online at their own pace, but every single event had families ready and eager to read. So we hosted 6 different events at EBR public libraries across town, and we gave them an overview of how your brain learns to read. Then we did the first reading lesson together using the reading kit, and then had time for a Q&A session. At the Knock Knock Children's Museum, they requested 2 separate In the Know events. One was specifically for struggling readers, and one was a beginning readers course. For the struggling readers course, I walked parents through how to give a diagnostic phonics assessment, and then we actually built custom kits for them based on the results. And the final event we did was at Gardner Christian Academy, where their school popped popcorn for everyone and had translators present for their bilingual families. So I never really anticipated in-person events being a part of this fellowship, but it led to some of my greatest connections of the year and conversations with parents. Being able to really give live feedback and hear what parents were asking was really able gave me the ability to shape what we would need to do in our last phase, support and sustain. So in phase 3, we wanted to make sure every family had the ability to ask questions and receive answers, but also for us to gain information on how to make Read with Kylie even more impactful. We began making contact with parents individually by using their preferred method of contact information. And when I realized how big of a task it would be to reach out to 1,000 families, I added 2 more teachers to the fellowship team that focused just on parent communication. And through these messages back and forth with families, we were able to give personalized reading tips to help their children continue to shine. In this conversation, you can see on the board, the parent actually sent me a video of their child reading. She knew all the sounds, but was struggling to blend them together. And I was able to make custom videos for her explaining how to do continuous blending to support her amazing little reader. Another way we supported families was by making Q&A videos based on their needs. So even if just one parent asked a question, I did my best to film a response and of how to implement any case they were looking for and put it online in case any other parents were having the same questions. Questions around were everywhere I went. Every single time I ever spoke to a family, they wanted to know more about dibbles and how to help their kids with dibbles. And most often there was a little bit of panic in the air when these questions were being asked. So one of the big series I did this year was explaining the ins and outs of each subtest, why they're great indicators of excellent readers, and best practices to grow foundational reading skills without the stress and the test prep. I also created a monthly newsletter that emailed out to families based on needs I was hearing for our fellowship families. And I used the newsletter to share ideas, highlight Read with Kylie in action, and hopefully remind families that they are absolutely the perfect people to teach their children how to read. It became overwhelmingly evident that phonics was the daunting task for most parents to teach. So the original parent guiding kit included lots of information on how to teach phonics patterns, but I wanted to help by making something even more explicit that explains why the phonics patterns actually make sense. So I made this new parent guide called The Rules for Reading, so reading can rule. And in this parent guide, it breaks down over 70 of the most common patterns in the English language, gives keywords, pronunciation tips, spelling rules, word lists to practice phonemic awareness, decoding, and encoding. And I also provided a 5-minute phonics routine that parents can do if they're on a short time looking for maximum impact. So every single one of these has a correlated video that I'm actually teaching the parent and the child at the same time. So they're able to get tips on how to teach this, but they can learn it at the same time as their child. And by the time the video is over, it's kind of their turn to take over and continue until the pattern is being read fluently. So this course took me 4 months to film, write, and edit and bring to life after teaching and then bedtime with my kids. This is what I was doing all night. So I'm really excited for the launch of this, and it's already been super exciting to hear some feedback. A crucial part of sustaining this project and making plans for the future is held within the data findings of this year. So in the next few slides, I'll go over both quantitative and qualitative data. The first measure we looked at was dibbles, and thanks to a data agreement with EBR, we were able to track the K-2 students who enrolled just within my school district. While there were other kids outside of the school district, this just focuses on the kids in EBR. Especially one demographic I'm excited to hear about next year is our pre-K babies who work so hard, who don't give this test, but they have made a lot of growth too. So we compared the students enrolled with the fellowship to the last year's statewide dibbles composite scores, and it really illuminated the success of our fellowship for our kindergarten and first grade students. And it also shows our biggest area of growth, while our second grade students, light blue you see here is the Read with Kylie students. It is still tracking ahead of the state averages. I feel like you're seeing the least amount of difference there because those students who are in second grade and still struggling with foundational reading skills need something a little bit more prescriptive and a little more intensive instructional practice. And finally, and what I think is most notable, is I had a small group of focus families, and these were the families that were actively engaged all year. So if you got a reading kit, you didn't have to do any of the follow-up, but if you did do the follow-up, I specifically tracked those students who were checking in regularly, came to in-person events, said they were using the kit frequently, and that specific group of students, 88% of them were either on or above grade level by the end of the year. So that was really exciting. We also gathered data from an end-of-the-year parent survey that was sent out to parents, and by the end of the year, 71% of parents were feeling confident to teach their child how to read. One parent even stated that they were happy, so the tiny little boop right there, they got to write in that feeling happy, which is just adorable. And I was also really excited to see at the start of the fellowship, 82% of parents felt that they were either okay or confident teaching. So actually our beginning of the year data, that's a lot better than I had originally think and it thought might have been. And it really affirmed my belief that parents can and should be playing an active role in teaching their children how to read. We also asked parents to describe their child's own reading level pre and post survey. And as you can see here, a lot more children are shifting into the fully reading books category. The post survey also asked parents how important they feel it is for parents to have resources to teach their children how to read, and 97% of them stated it was very important. 81% of families said they were using the kit weekly or more frequently, and families who are using it less frequently cited time constraints and specifically having to work on homework as kind of barriers for utilizing it more often. Finally, we made space to share qualitative data where parents could share any successes they've experienced from the fellowship and offer any feedback they had for improvement. While the feedback was overwhelmingly positive, a few constructive comments really will help moving forward in tailoring Read with Kylie. A few of the constructive feedbacks were more in-person workshops, so I'm going to work to build out how other people can lead those. That'll be more on my next step, but things like communication, which communicating with 1,000 families, which was a much larger task. So I'm going to work a lot more on that. But just to share a few of the quotes that were shared, one person said, "Keep the word and teaching children how to read. We need this." Neither parents were in the educational field, so we didn't know where to start when it came to teaching our children how to read. We love the resource for both the parent and the child. I'm so excited about Read with Kylie because it made teaching my child how to read less painful, more fun, and exciting. Before, it felt like I was bothering his teacher to help gain the skills to teach my son. Now with Read with Kylie, I can help my son and have the skills to not to get frustrated while trying to get him to love reading. Kylie really inspired me to jump right in. She made it easy and way less daunting. I don't think I personally would have been able to teach my daughter how to read before Kylie's program. And I won't read you all of this because I will probably cry, but just some highlights. This parent said, "It was great to see how lines and squiggles," I'm going to cry anyway, "he used to see are now becoming letters and words. My child's reading chapter books. They've grown a ton. It was a great time bonding," which that was my big goal with this is teaching your child how to read is really beautiful experience as a parent in terms of that bonding. My son went from resisting anything to do with reading to hitting his growth goals at school on Dibbles. Every child should have reading resources at home. Thank you for this. And this has truly changed my child's life. So in terms of what's next with all that in mind, we have a few next key steps. I'm working on the development of a course specifically for struggling readers. And actually, when I wrote this, it is officially live on the website. That just to make it a little more intensive, it has a diagnostic test, how to give it, and more specific strategies on how to help those students. I also want to design a course specifically for teachers or tutors who are looking for resources that they could use to help their students' families or to be used instructionally in the classroom. And I hope to share out the work that was done through the Public Interest Fellowship, which I hope you have found as powerful as I have. And finally, I want to continue building the website until everything families need is right there for free, because learning to read is too important to be anything but free. So thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to spread a love of literacy. While this has been all about learning to read, more than anything, my hope is that reading stops feeling like a gatekeeper, making children feel like they aren't good enough. And with every child learning to read along the way, I think I'm making first grade Kylie really proud. I wasn't less smart because it took me a little longer to read than the other kids in the room, and neither are any of our children. So with the right foundational reading skills, a lot of joy, and the gift of feeling seen through connection, I know all children can learn to read. So thank you so much again. It's been an amazing year. I didn't cry too much, so that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Kylie. I am excited. I want to commend your outreach, especially the utilization of the local public libraries. I think that was a very good fit. I do want to get the link to your monthly newsletter. I think that's something great to share across the state of Louisiana. And what are your plans to expand outside of Baton Rouge? I notice it's just in Baton Rouge right now.
Yeah, we actually shipped to a few other cities because some people heard through word of mouth, but the reading kit, the physical reading kits obviously were funded through the fellowship. So that's, a little bit, but the new website has the new reading course actually has everything to be able to be downloaded. So it's truly a lot more accessible than it was by the end of the year. My big goal was that by the end of the year, the website would kind of speak for itself and people everywhere could get access to those materials. So I think it's ready to be as far and wide as, yeah, as people
This
are
is
willing
great.
to see it. Yeah.
Good job. Great
Thanks.
job.
Yeah.
Comment?
So not surprisingly, the wow factor is off the charts. So kudos for that. You know, just the idea that not only are you teaching kids to read, but you're teaching parents to teach kids to read, right? So I don't know how much more efficient you can get than that. But I'm just curious from your experience, what's the secret sauce to family engagement? From your experience, what would you say?
So I think for me, the secret sauce is that there's a lot of parents that want to do it, but that a lot of the traditional things that like kids know from birth their animal sounds, right? Like we all know to do that in our homes. So I think it's giving concrete little minor shifts. Like instead of singing the ABC song to your kid, let's start from really young. The phonetic patterns, I do feel phonemic awareness, specifically hearing the sounds and spelling, are two parts of reading instruction that families often miss that are so easy to add in. And I mean, the parents have told me it's like that was such a game changer for us. So I do think it's in the practices, but I think one thing for me that's been really impactful is just taking the stress out. Like here, you see on this slide, it's never too late. I think so many parents feel like if I don't nail this down when my kid gets to kindergarten, it's over. Like they're ruined for the rest of their life. Or if my kid's well below in dibbles on first grade, they've got no shot at this. So I think taking some of the pressure off and being able to be like, look, I'm a mom. I just did this. I didn't learn how to read until third grade is when I was fluent. I'm okay. You know, like here I am. Right. So I think kind of removing for me, that's what's so impactful about parents, right? There's no deadline of this is the end of your school year. Like you're going to work with your kid on this until it's done. So I think being that comforting person who's able to reassure people that it's never too late has been I feel the stress around teaching kids how to read is so detrimental to children. And that's what I felt very tremendously growing up. So